Hi everyone, this is Maya Zahira with PsychicProtectionSanctuary.com, and this is one of my Ask Maya segments. I took a break from doing these segments for a couple of months while I was working really hard on creating and finishing up the new self-study program, the Psychic Protection Solution. And now that that is all created and it's now open and ready for you to join, I'm now back. I have a little bit more time to create more videos for YouTube. So let's jump in. I had a really interesting question, and it was about, what do I think about the book, the material, A Course in Miracles? I don't remember the author because I just realized I should have looked this up, but I'm just going to keep going with my thoughts because the author, actually that's not relevant with what I'm going to say to you today. A Course in Miracles has been around for a long time. It is a book that was channeled via an entity. So it's channeled material. It's very, very popular in the New Age. And there are people who are very attached to that material. And there are like courses and groups that like study it like it's there are people who study it like the Bible, like instead of having a Bible study group, it's a study group for A Course in Miracles. Like, people invest a lot of their brain their brain power into studying and understanding this material. And when I tell people what I see about this material, it's so funny because people who are really attached to A Course in Miracles will get very condescending with me. And they'll be like, well, it's very elevated material, so you just don't understand it. And I think that is so funny. It's just hilarious. It's so hilarious to me. It's like, because their cognitive dissonance doesn't allow them to hear what I'm saying or to consider what I'm saying, and that's totally fine. So, if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I talk about false light entities. I talk about false light in New Age and beyond, and that I had a major psychic attack by an entity in 2016, so a decade ago from when I'm recording this. It was actually exactly a decade ago because it's April 2026, and this happened in 2016. And I had this encounter with a false light entity. I didn't know what that was at the time. I was pretty naive. I was very into the feel-good spirituality, and it's all good and positive vibes and everything. And I went to a colleague to get a second opinion about a spiritual matter. And when I went to her, I'm not going to tell the whole story. You can read the whole story in my first book, Darkness Disguised as Light. But a couple of sentences, snapshot, is that I went to her, and for this consultation, I came under major attack. It turned out that the Council of 12 Angels that she thought, or she thinks that she's working with, was actually a very dangerous imposter. It was one very powerful entity pretending to be 12 angels to her, but it was a shapeshifter. It was pretending to be all sorts of things with me when it was attacking me. And that was the beginning of my ability to discern false light entities. Unfortunately, it was through the trauma of that situation that went on for about 6 weeks before I was able to figure out what the heck was happening and clear it. And then after that, the situation was validated. What I believed had happened, that this was an imposter entity, was validated again and again as I worked with different clients all over the world, seeing this same scenario playing out with different people. Okay, so let me bring it back to A Course in Miracles. What I started to see after that traumatic catalyst that created an awakening for me to be able to see and discern false light, what I began to see was like this whole network, not just through New Age, but through even religion and like the UFO enthusiasts, and the truther movement, like everywhere, all these different spiritual groups, there would be people who were channeling messages from one or more entities that they believed to be ascended beings or aliens or certain religious figures. And in the majority of these channeled writings, like almost all of these channeled writings were coming through false light entities, dark entities posing as light beings. So that could be demons, jinn, other types of beings that have the level of darkness and deceit that they would want to do something like that. Because it's fun to confuse humanity. It's fun for them to confuse and disorient humanity into like chasing their tail. Like, can you imagine all these people that are just spending years studying and living by this like these fake materials? How this false light matrix is run is that, and how it is so convincing, is that it's about 80% truth and 20% lies. And this is very common even when we look at the behavior of humans who are psychopaths and who are intentionally deceiving a person or groups of people. They will get away with their lies by telling 80% truth and 20% lies. Because if they told 100% lies, no one would believe them. So it would be like so obvious, like, well, that's ridiculous. We're not going to believe that crazy sounding stuff. But when you make it sound all like higher wisdom-ish, then that's where all these people who have spiritual ego go, well, this is higher wisdom, Maya. You just don't understand it. False light brings in material like that on purpose. It channels material like that on purpose. I call it spiritual word salad. It's done intentionally so that people will be fooled. So you probably know now what I'm going to say about A Course in Miracles. I've spent the whole video like setting this final point up. What do you think I'm going to say? A Course in Miracles. And this is through my spiritual discernment, not just like I'm opinionated because I have these views. No, my spiritual discernment as someone who can see and discern false light my spiritual discernment is that A Course in Miracles was 100% channeled from a non-benevolent, a negative entity, a false light entity.
I talked about the law of one and the raw material, and people are acting like I kicked their puppy through a ceiling fan. So I've gotten quite a few whiny DMs and comments about people that just can't come down off that raw titty, but too bad, so sad. I've also gotten some amazing comments and questions from you guys, so thank you. One of the good ones that I'd like to spend some time on is, what do I think of A Course in Miracles? Well, A Course in Miracles is a perfect example of an intelligence agency op that is using the New Age to manipulate behavioral conditioning, personality conditioning, and how we interact, think, feel, and perceive the world. For anyone that doesn't know, A Course in Miracles came out in the 70s. It was a book supposedly channeled by this Dr. Helen Schucman. She was supposedly channeling Jesus, and it was an early metaphysical phenomenon. It started off kind of New Agey stuff back then and has been popular ever since. I've got my notes here, and let me give you some facts about A Course in Miracles. It was originally started as a collaborative venture by Helen Schucman and William Thetford. Now, Thetford worked on CIA mind control project Bluebird from 1951 to 1953. From 1955 to 1957, he was an assistant professor of psychology at Cornell University's CIA-funded Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology, a euphemism for mind control. In 1958, he went to Columbia University, got a full professorship, and stayed there for 20 years. It was during that time that he headed up MKUltra's subproject 130 into personality theory. Now, Helen Schucman, the channeler, was hired by Thetford in 1965 to be the associate professor of medical psychology. And all of a sudden, in 65, she started hearing the voice of Jesus telling her to write this book down. Now, it just seems perfectly normal for a Jewish professor of medical psychology to just start channeling Jesus.
Don't even hesitate, don't even worry, and don't even give it a second thought. That's our slogan. See it on the bottom of the screen below our name.
And from 1965 to 1972, CIA Thetford directly assisted Schucman with the transcription of the first 3 sections of the work, which was in fact the great bulk of the material. Now, I'd like to point out that MKUltra Subproject 130 was into personality theory. And what does A Course in Miracles do? It teaches you how to heal your personality, which is just, programming your personality for what they want it to be. The book itself was published by the Foundation for the Investigation of Parasensory Phenomena. The president of that foundation was Judith Skutch, who was also connected with Stanford Research Institute. Skutch was involved with Andrea Puharish and Uri Geller and raised funding for them through the CIA and Stanford Research Institute. So it's a very good indication that the foundation itself was a CIA cutout organization to fund this book. So the book itself was most likely literally published by the CIA. Now, my belief is that this was a portion of CIA Subproject 130. It was published by the CIA as a behavioral conditioning course to take people from Christianity into the New Age. Jesus was being channeled so people could associate with it easier, and through the exercises, they would gradually open themselves up belief system into the New Age and become more docile and easier to control.